Hello and welcome. You have access to this document in the text below, so please open that up and follow along as I review how to use these resources. In our current time, in the current climate, it is really important for us to have access to organized distance learning materials. So the goal for these resources is to have organize different resources online, from text, video, to game simulations, to allow students to use these resources during independent learning time and be able to study and then show mastery of all the different content standards within grade levels 6, 7, and 8th grade math. I'm going to review first the student overview. Once you've updated this document to reflect the needs of your students in your class, depending on where you're at right now in the school year, I would recommend you updating the date, whatever instructions pertain to your class, and then creating a calendar by which, with dates by which you would like students to have mastered each content area. Now, the California content standards are broken up into power focus areas, PFAs, and additional focus areas. According to the Summit Basecamp platform, they assign 21% of a student's grade to the power focus areas, which are the most important standards within 6th grade. And then additional focus areas are for students to obtain the last 9% of their grade for going above and beyond, which kind of makes sense. You get an A- for doing the minimum, and you can get up to an A+ for going above and beyond. If you don't like the way this is structured and you want all of your students to study all this material, that's totally acceptable. If you notice on this page, I mentioned that focus areas 1 through 3 are missing assessments, meaning the diagnostic and the pre and post assessments are missing. So I'm going to go into these examples, and you're welcome to make your own assessments where there are assessments missing. So this document, once you assign students the coordinate plane and coordinate geometry, for example, focus area, this is how you would go over it. 1, you would review the learning objectives with students, and these are aligned to California state standards. And then you would go over some key terms that they might come across within this content area. All of these objectives and key terms are focused on and broken down by resource here. So under resources, learning objective 1 is restated, and then many different resources for students to review are listed underneath it, and you can see the resources listed here. And there are different types of resources. There are videos, there are practice resources where they're either games or some type of simulation for them to interact with, and we can just open up one. Well, that one doesn't work. Some of them may be outdated, but you can see there's different resources they'd have to they'd have to interact with in order to test their understanding for that content area. What I recommend for you to do is, once you review learning objectives and key terms, you ask students to take the diagnostic assessment. And you should update this with a link of a copy of the assessment that you're asking your students to complete. You should first capture whatever information you need to obtain from your students. For me, my students just took the test inside the classroom, and once they mastered it, they showed me, and then they got to put their sticker on our mastery wall. In this case, if you're doing distance learning and students are expected to take the test, and once they demonstrate mastery, maybe they send you an email or they just send you a note saying, I mastered the test, and then you can go back and check their scores. So you might want to ask for their first and last name and email address in addition to the period. So whatever identifying information, you should modify this test to request that. And then the way that this is organized is, you'll see objective 1, objective 1, objective 2, objective 2, objective 3, and learning objective 3. So in this specific diagnostic assessment, there are 2 questions for each learning objective being assessed. When the students take this test, in the end, they'll get the answers to the test, and the answers will help guide them to which learning objectives they need to focus on reviewing. So if they got all the questions wrong,